Throwaway account, because the people involved religiously scroll my main profile hunting for gossip. If they find this, fine. Everything here is verifiable, and the screenshots already live in multiple safe places. I'm Sarah, 32. My husband Tom, 34, is the steady, quietly funny software architect everyone wants on their trivia team. His younger brother Jake, 28, is the kind of guy who thinks lingering eye contact is charismatic instead of unsettling. Their mother Carol, who is nearing 60, keeps pretending he is still her delicate baby bird. Nobody in the family ever challenged her open favoritism, and over the years, Jake learned that boundaries were for other people. When I joined the clan 6 years ago, Jake's boundary testing looked harmless. Jokes about how I clean up nice, slightly too long hugs, insisting on sitting beside me at every gathering. I brushed it off as awkward social calibration. Tom noticed, but didn't consider it dangerous. Every time I mentioned feeling watched, he offered to talk to Jake, and every time I said I could handle it. I regret that. Christmas last year detonated my complacency. Our tradition is a secret Santa with a $50 limit and handmade wrapping. Names are drawn from a repurposed popcorn bucket. By cosmic coincidence, or a rigged drawing nobody else spotted, Jake drew my name. During Gift Circle, he bounced on the couch like an over-caffeinated toddler waiting for Disneyland, laser-focused on my lap as I untied the bow. Inside the small box lay a delicate crimson scarf. Folded within the silk was a velvet jewelry pouch tied shut with red thread. I slipped out a silver pendant shaped like an ornate key. Cute, if slightly intimate for in-laws. The pendant rattled, so I unclasped it, expecting a price tag. Instead, I found a scroll no longer than my thumb. My stomach dipped. With everyone watching, I kept my face neutral, slipped the note back, thanked Jake, and moved on. Jake looked euphoric. Bathroom break. I locked the door, unrolled the scroll, and read, "I love you. You deserve a man who truly sees you. Follow the key when you're ready to unlock real happiness. Yours, Jay." My hands shook so badly, I nearly dropped the note into the toilet. I used my phone to take time-stamped photos against the countertop, then wrapped everything exactly as it had been. The rest of the evening, I avoided eye contact with Jake and prayed nobody noticed my pulse hammering. That night at home, I showed Tom. He went rigid, reread the message twice, whispered, "What the hell?" and asked for beer he couldn't finish. We debated confronting Jake immediately, but decided the family would implode. Post-holiday was soon enough. We'd bring the note, demand an apology, set new rules. 3 days later, a drunk driver blew a red light, crushed the driver's side of Tom's sedan, and catapulted our plans into chaos. I spent the next 48 hours living on vending machine coffee and adrenaline, praying as surgeons rebuilt his pelvis and pinned his femur. The ICU monitors drowned out everything, even the fury I felt toward Jake. On day 5, while Tom slept, Carol arrived flanked by Jake. She pressed a thermos into my hands, called me sweet girl, and suggested we chat. Out in the corridor, she cooed that I looked exhausted, that my apartment was lonely, that Jake had a freshly painted guest room and would love to keep me company. "So you're not rattling around by yourself?" Jake stood behind her nodding, cheeks flaming as if he'd rehearsed the scene in front of a mirror. I managed a polite refusal, citing my dog and a looming work deadline. Carol's lips tightened. She tried again, voice syrup soft, implying Tom's prognosis was uncertain and I should take comfort where it's offered. Jake exhaled like that sealed a deal, Walking back into Tom's room, I finally linked the note, Jake's predatory stare, and Carol's push. They didn't see my marriage. They saw interchangeable placeholders for family roles. If Tom was temporarily out of the picture, I could simply swap brothers like pairs of jeans. Revulsion morphed into purpose. I was done playing polite. Revenge, I decided, had to be bulletproof and legal. I started with documentation. I already had photos of the pendant and note. I scanned them at high resolution, preserving EXIF data. I uploaded copies to 2 cloud services under encrypted file names and stored a flash drive in my desk at work. I created a spreadsheet logging every interaction with Jake or Carol. Date, medium, summary, actual quotes when possible. My state allows single-party recording, so I enabled automatic call capture. Each voicemail and text funneled into the archive. Tom's condition stabilized enough for him to follow conversations. Each evening I relayed any new schemes, and each evening he whispered through pain, "Get them." That blessing mattered. I was defending us, not just me. Next, I needed allies who understood the family leverage points. Tom's sister Lily, 30, teaches high school chemistry and has a spine of tungsten. I invited her for cafeteria coffee, slid my laptop across the table, and hit play on the latest voicemail, where Carol lamented my loneliness and suggested Jake could fill the gap. Lily's jaw tightened into a soldier's smile, the kind you hold during a dissection lab. She asked for copies. I gave her the entire archive. Within 48 hours, Lily looped in their father, Roger. He divorced Carol a decade earlier, yet still funds her suburban lifestyle through a family trust set up by his parents. Roger is genial but ruthlessly protective of his grown children. He requested a meeting at his law office, where I laid out printed timelines, certified transcripts, and the pendant in a sealed evidence bag. Roger listened without interrupting, then calmly stated, "Harassment and attempted coercion. We can handle that." For 6 weeks, while Tom endured surgeries and began rehab, Carol escalated. She delivered flower arrangements to my office labeled, "From Jake." She texted photos of the guest room bedding. She mailed a homemade casserole with a card reading, "Healing starts with comfort. Jake can provide both." Every item fed the evidence mill. I kept responses bland. "Thanks," unable to accept. Her persistence made the paper trail undeniable. The tipping point came when Carol cornered me in the rehab parking lot. She claimed Tom felt guilty about holding me back and had privately told her I should move on. The absurdity snapped something in me. I pulled out my phone, hit record visibly, and asked her to repeat it for Tom's therapist. She gasped, stumbled over her words, and fled. On playback, the recording captured enough to prove she was engineering a separation. With the smoking gun secured, Roger drafted the confrontation plan. He invited the entire family to Sunday brunch at his house under the guise of celebrating Tom's first unassisted steps with a walker. Tom's therapist approved a 4-hour day pass, and Tom insisted on attending, wheelchair and all. Roger's living room had been upgraded with discrete high-definition cameras synced to his office computer. Lily and I spent Saturday evening printing 8x10 blow-ups of key evidence: the love note, a collage of Carol's texts, screenshots of delivery receipts. We slid a packet under each placemat, hidden by cloth napkins. The stage was set. Brunch began politely. Quiche, fruit salad, mimosas. Jake tried to serve me coffee. I declined, keeping my voice steady. Carol praised Jake's new throw pillows, chosen with Sarah in mind. My stomach clenched, but I smiled. At Roger's nod, Lily ducked into the study and triggered the slideshow. The TV flickered. Up came the note, magnified so the looping handwriting filled the screen. Forks froze. Jake's eyes widened until whites circled the irises. Carol's lips parted, but no sound emerged. Roger's voice carried from behind his wingback chair. "Jake, explain why my son's wife received that message from you." Jake's response was word salad. Prank, joke, misunderstood gesture. Roger advanced slides. Text chains scrolled past. Carol's voicemail transcriptions. The parking lot recording complete with timestamp. Lily distributed the physical packets. Paper rustled. Tension buzzed like static. I kept my gaze on Jake. He glanced at me, cheeks blotched, breath hitching. For a heartbeat, I wondered if he would finally apologize. Instead, he whispered, "You were supposed to come to me." My blood iced. Tom wheeled forward, placed his hand over mine, and spoke with the quiet authority that made me fall in love. "Contact us again, and I will involve law enforcement. We are done." Carol lurched from her chair, shouting that I had seduced Jake with kindness, that the accident was a sign we were mismatched, that she was only protecting family unity. Roger cut in, cold as liquid nitrogen, informing her the trust clause prohibiting immoral conduct allowed immediate suspension of her distributions. An audible gasp escaped her. Jake reached for her arm. She slapped his hand away. Roger's attorney, present as brunch guest, handed Jake and Carol envelopes containing formal cease and desist notices and preliminary protective order filings. Their exit was chaotic. Raised voices, toppled chair, front door slammed hard enough to rattle stained glass. The cameras captured everything. Phase 2 rolled out Monday. Our lawyer filed for an emergency civil protective order citing stalking, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Included were recordings, the brunch footage, and affidavits from Roger and Lily. The judge granted temporary orders pending a full hearing, banning Jake and Carol from any contact, direct or indirect. They were served at their respective workplaces before lunch. Jake's employer, a mid-sized engineering firm with strict conduct policies, immediately placed him on administrative leave. An internal investigation corroborated unprofessional behavior, and by Friday his badge no longer worked. Licensure boards take harassment seriously. A formal complaint was filed. Carol's world imploded slower but deeper. Roger's attorneys froze her trust account. Without it, her mortgage, country club dues, and leased SUV became unsustainable. The protective order hearing occurred 3 weeks later. I testified, calm and factual, while Jake's court-appointed attorney squirmed. Carol represented herself, a disastrous choice. The judge made the temporary order permanent for 2 years, extendable. Court staff escorted them out separate exits. In the quiet aftermath, Tom focused on reclaiming mobility while I rebuilt psychological stability. We installed security cameras, changed phone numbers, and adopted a rescue mastiff whose bark could vibrate floorboards. Therapy helped us process betrayal and the adrenaline crash that follows sustained vigilance. Tom wrestled with guilt. His family's actions felt like a reflection on him. I reminded him that DNA predicts biology, not character. Carol's harassment didn't stop instantly after brunch. The no-contact notice hadn't been served yet, and in that limbo window, she tried a last gambit. She left a handwritten letter taped to our apartment door, accusing me of weaponizing female fragility and promising unconditional forgiveness if I apologized to Jake. I photographed the envelope, slipped on gloves, sealed it in a Ziploc, and dropped it at my lawyer's office. He laughed at the dramatic stationery, thick ivory card embossed with gold vines, and added it to the stack. Speaking of court, our first appearance was surreal. The courtroom smelled like old books and recycled HVAC air. Jake wore a wrinkled suit 2 sizes too big, probably borrowed. He couldn't meet my eyes. Carol arrived in pearls, convinced poise could retroactively redefine reality. When the judge asked if they contested the recording's authenticity, their lawyers whispered, and both defendants shook their heads. That moment, tiny, bureaucratic, felt like the ground finally tilting towards sanity after weeks of vertigo. The opposing counsel tried painting Jake as a heartsick man acting under misguided affection. My lawyer countered by playing the parking lot recording where Carol said, "Once Sarah sees how devoted you are, she'll understand." The courtroom speakers crackled with her voice. One juror flinched, another raised a brow. It was impossible to cling to the hopeless romantic narrative when your own mother is coaching you like a pickup artist. Tom's physical rehab overlapped with my psychological one. Twice a week I visited a trauma-informed therapist named Dr. Montes. She reframed revenge not as pettiness, but as boundary enforcement. "Healthy anger is the immune system of the psyche," she said during our 5th session. "Suppress it, and infection spreads." I left her office breathing easier, permission slip in hand to feel furious without self-reproach. There was one unexpected subplot. Carol's church community initially rallied around her, spoon-feeding affirmations about forgiveness and family unity. Then Roger's lawyer, following due diligence, forwarded selected evidence packets to the church board. The board conducted its own inquiry and quietly removed Carol from the women's ministry leadership list. No public shaming, just a calendar update that spoke volumes. Carol posted a Facebook rant about persecution. The comments were brutal, each one quoting her voicemail transcripts verbatim. Jake attempted a digital resurrection 6 months later by sending me a LinkedIn request under the name Jonathan K. Same profile photo, same smug smirk. I captured a screen recording and forwarded it to the county clerk overseeing our order. Violation documented, notated, and forwarded to his probation officer. He spent a weekend in a holding cell thinking about aliases. The Mastiff, for those invested in the dog subplot, is named Oracle because he warns of visitors 30 seconds before the doorbell. He adopted Tom as his personal chew toy, draping over the wheelchair and later the walker like living ballast. Watching them nap together, man and dog rebuilt, is my favorite form of revenge. Living well right in the footprint of attempted harm. If any armchair ethicists are still tallying, Carol lost a house, Jake lost a career, and we lost illusions. The exchange rate feels favorable. Should they appear at the end of the 2-year order, my lawyer already drafted the extension motion. Evidence refresh takes minutes. Jake has a pattern of self-sabotage online. Predators rarely reinvent themselves. They rebrand. I stay vigilant the way you lock your door even in safe neighborhoods, not because you expect danger every minute, but because the cost of caution is low. Some readers may crave a Hollywood ending, where the villains repent. This isn't that genre. People who weaponize trauma don't wake up enlightened because they hit bottom. They dig sideways. I'm not sending a rope into that pit. Instead, I invest energy in small, ordinary joys. Friday pizza with Tom, morning runs with Oracle lumbering behind, learning to bake perfect sourdough. Yes, I jumped on that quarantine trend late. Streaming guilty pleasure reality shows without pausing to check security feeds. Revenge was spectacular. Normal life is sublime. If you made it this far, reward yourself with the knowledge that the note and pendant now sit inside a clear acrylic display box on my desk. I added a label. In case of entitlement, break glass. Conversation starter, cautionary tale, and proof that sometimes the creepiest gifts keep on giving, just not the way the giver intended. End of log. Screenshots updated, backups verified, dog fed. Life goes on, loudly loved and well defended.